I was coaching at Pepperdine and living in Topanga Canyon, and I went down to the U.S. Open Nationals in Arlington, Texas. I needed a hitter. I had one scholarship, and I watched this left-handed hitter, and he's pretty good, and the tournament was over. I'd never seen him play before, and I said, hey, I'm interested in recruiting you to Pepperdine, and things go pretty well, and I said, could I get your phone number? And he says, yeah, 310-455-3471. And I said, that's Topanga Canyon. That's where I grew up. And he said, that's where I grew up. And so I go all the way down to Texas to get a player from another generation. He comes to Pepperdine, and he's a very good hitter. So good that he wants to hit and only hit. And we get into this player-coach discussion. And I said, Jeff, 6'3" hitters are a dime a dozen. Your career will only go so far as a hitter. Jeff, you need to set for us. Pretty good touch on the ball. And he says, Marv, he says, I want to hit. And I said, you're going to set. I want to hit, you're going to set. And so he ends up doing both. And then you know what a great career he had as a setter. But also when we played the great Soviet team in the gold medal match at the Olympics in 1988, he was something like 12 for 15 as a setter who hit in the front row, 12 kills. And actually, Losev, the setter for the Soviet Union, was also left-handed. He'd hit one down, and then Jeff would hit one. Losev would hit one, then Jeff would hit two. And, he is a great father. He's a great friend and a great volleyball player. And I'm very proud that he will be going into the Volleyball Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much, Marv. Appreciate it. Mayor, I think you're the only one that's going to be president someday, so don't let them tease you too much. So, Peter, I'll go down the order a little bit with these awesome inductees, but I had similar conversations with Bebeto about that, and Mike, similar situations with Doug, so it's all good. Tatiana, very touching story. You love your mother very much, and it shows, so that's really nice. Maurizio, no more Italian, only English from here on out, all right? And Georgie, that team looks a whole lot different than what won in London. There were some big boys out there. Anyways, well, first, I'd like to thank the Volleyball Hall of Fame for honoring me with this induction. I have a great deal of respect for the game of volleyball, and I know the people that are in here. I recognize or have played with probably 60-70% of the people in the Hall of Fame, and I truly know how good and great those players were and are. Secondly, I'd like to thank the city of city of Holyoke and the Volleyball Hall of Fame for putting on such a wonderful event. This is truly a memorable experience for my wife and I. We've had a terrific time here this weekend. And again, getting back to the inductees, I'd like to congratulate you on being inducted. I know how distinguished your careers were. Peter and Maurizio and I kind of shared a little bit of our careers, and more often than not, somewhere along the line, whether it be on the national teams or the professional leagues, we would wind up playing each other in a quarter, a semi, or in a final. And obviously, between the three of us, we kind of had things covered for a while anyways. So that's all good. Mike, I know that you're being inducted into the Hall of Fame as a beach player, but Mike and I had a little bit of a stint together when Doug was the coach. It was post-'84. We went on a 2-month tour, and we only had, I think, 1 day or 2 days at home. And but there's tons of stories in there, but we'll save those for later. Lastly, I'd like to thank everybody in this room. We all love the sport of volleyball, and if it's not for you, we're not growing the sport. So thank you to everybody in this room. While I'm here, and as I prepare for this, I think, hey, what got me here? And today, certainly there's a sense of accomplishment and pride in what I did as a volleyball player, but I certainly didn't get into the sport to be in this position. love the sport, love to compete, and I played for the love of the game. And as I sit here today, I'm sure, at least I think it this way, being from Topanga, is who would have thought that a kid from Topanga would wind up in this position, representing his country. I think that's extremely, I'm proud of that. Throughout my career, I've been fortunate to have family, friends, teammates, and coaches along the way helping me achieve success. Tonight, I'd like to thank some of those people who shaped me as a volleyball player, but also as a person. Well, we're going to get into family here. To my mother, she taught me that in some way everybody's special, and I still think of that today. My father, who taught me how to compete with honor, he was my biggest fan, and he was at every major event that I competed in. And there was always a "Go Stork" that Maurizio's mom is sharing with us, or I think it was Pat's mom, or son, I guess, doing the same type of thing. To my brothers and sisters, Michelle, Brian, David, Jennifer, and Kipper, they taught me how to care and compete at the same time. Obviously, with a family that big, you're doing something that's competitive along the way. To my teammates, volleyball is not an individual sport, and you cannot succeed alone. And Doug, I appreciate your comments yesterday at the ring bearing and the plaque ceremony, talking about how players like to play with me. Being a good teammate is probably the most important thing to me. Obviously, winning's important, but if you can't get players working together, you're not going to win. To the teammates on the national team, many of them are in the Hall of Fame today. We put in countless hours of extremely intense training in the gym. Marv actually provided the environment. Many of you know a man named Jim Coleman, who was part of that '88 team. Marv's the coach. Jim Coleman's a consultant coach type of thing. Anyways, with 12 competitive players, he'd put Jim Coleman up on the ref stand. Marv knew he was bad. Jim knew he was bad. All the players knew he was bad at officiating. And then he would make bad calls, and we'd go at each other. And, they didn't care. It just made us a little bit better, which is good. To the Italian Volleyball League and the Italian players, the Italian League for me was probably the best experience volleyball-wise for me in my lifetime. It was a true, competitor's dream. To give you an example of that, in post-92, there was Maurizio won the gold. Well, the team won the gold. Peter won the silver. U.S. got the bronze. So there's 18 starters on that crew. 15 of them were in the Italian leagues that following year. You combine that with most of the great Italian players and also the Russian players and many other players around. It was a true competitor's dream, and I'm happy to be a big part of that. To my coaches, Marv Dunphy being the first, Doug Beal, Gary Sato, Bill Neville, Fred Sturm, Gianpaolo Montali, Babetto, which was always fun, Raul Lozano, and a Hall of Famer that showed up yesterday, which nobody expected, is Latanov. He was a coach my last year. I learned something from each one of them, and which made the player I am today. A little bit of a sidebar, Tom McCarthy, who was my agent, he provided me with opportunities into La Bella Vita, and my wife and I are extremely happy that he created those opportunities. Special thanks, Marv. In a lot of ways, we were involved probably, I think, 12 years, 8 of them as a player, 4 of them as a coach. And there's nobody that has influenced me more as a player than Marv Dunphy. We've had a personal relationship for over 30 years, and like Mike said, pretty special. One of the things that he always talks about is it's not where you are, it's who you are. And I certainly care who I am, and Marv was a big mentor for me in that regard. To my wife, Sabina, and our kids, certainly as we do things in life. We do them for a reason. We do them for a purpose. And my reasons and purpose are my wife and kids. So my induction tonight is based on achievements on the court, but for me, I like to remember and thank my family, friends, teammates, and coaches who are responsible for the development of me as a player and as a person. So thank you very much, and thank you.